So thanks Viniji for introducing me. So that's my typical profile, and I have, so what I'll do is I will basically cover the 3 Indian courses, CA, CS and MBA, which I will call as the Desi courses, and then we have the 4 Videshi courses in India, CFA, CIMA, ACCA and CPA. So now there are basic objective of this presentation, why I wanted to come here and speak to the crowd, was that around education there is a lot of myth, a lot of misconception which is there, which I wanted to debunk, and there are a lot of prevailing notions which students get at an early stage, like BBA is very good for MBA. If you do a BBA, you will do very well in MBA. That's a myth. So if you are preparing for CAT, I think BCom, especially a BCom morning, is one of the best courses because it gives you a lot of time to prepare for CAT. So around education, if you look at the world around you, there are a lot of myths prevailing. But then we can probably look at your career. So you've heard about 4 P's of marketing. Yeah, that's a Philip Kotler theory of marketing, and it talks about that in marketing there are 4 dimensions: product, price, place and promotion. Now in an evolutionary stage, when you are a student, you have to focus on the product, because ultimately it is you as a product which is going to be launched in the market once you are out there in the job market and trying to fetch a job for yourself. So in the student stage, it is very important to make the right career choices. For that, it is not wise to do something just because your friends are doing it, or because your father is a chartered accountant, so you also have to be a chartered accountant. You have to find out that what exactly is fitting into your competency matrix. So everyone's brain is naturally wired towards a particular part of this knowledge world. So some people you will see that even at the age of class 11 or 12, they are attuned towards the stock market, they start watching CNBC. So that's because they love trading, that adrenaline rush they get. Some people just love selling. So if you ask me to sell, for me it is very difficult to sell, go out there and tell people that, oh please buy this insurance policy or buy a particular loan. But for some people it comes very naturally. They'll make friends so easily over a cup of coffee and tea and then just sell. So when you make a career, very important that you build it around your core competency. When it comes to the world of finance, typically you've gone through corporate finance and the various dimensions of it. So if you are a chartered accountant in a company, you typically will have one of these 8 baskets in which you will work. Starts with taxation. So what exactly is taxation? Taxation can either be direct taxation or indirect taxation. You can income tax or GST. Then controller, you will work on SOX, governance, risk and compliance, financial reporting and assurance. So today most companies in India have adopted the Ind AS. So earlier people were adopting the Indian accounting standards, and some of them who are MNCs with shop in India, they set up their financials as per the US GAAP or the French GAAP or the Dutch GAAP, depending on their ultimate parent entity. Then treasury and subsidiaries. Treasury, as Vivek ji has already explained about the entire gamut of risk. Financial planning and analysis. So what exactly is the difference between accounting and financial planning and analysis? Anyone? What is FP&A? FP&A is one of the hottest careers today in the world of finance. And how is it different from financial reporting? Accountant vis-a-vis a financial FP&A. Correct. So the financial planning and analysis role is essentially trying to build out a strategy for that company as to where you will take that company 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. So when I was in Tata Steel, my first job, which I joined around 10 years ago, my job was to forecast the financial statements of Chorus from 2008 onwards to 2018. So today we are standing in 2018, but there I was in the first floor of Tata Center in 2008 trying to build up a scenario that if this and this and this happens in the world around us, this is where the balance sheet of Chorus is going to look out in 2018. So that's FP&A, and then you've got secretarial functions, which you do it with a company secretary course. Business finance, where you are actually having a commercial acumen. आप धंधा कर रहे हो वहाँ पे जाके उस कंपनी में. You're not just making accounts or filing tax returns, but you are in a Dabur, you are in a Godrej or an Imami in their sales office, enabling the sales function and collection of that money and making the company earn profit. So that's business finance, and then business support various other functions. So what is a pricing analyst? Basically a pricing analyst will be someone who looks at pricing. So Patanjali, when they have launched Dant Kanti, how do they price Dant Kanti's 200 grams toothpaste thing is the job of this pricing analyst. He has to study the pricing, that what is the job of a Colgate or HUL, and he will do the pricing. You've got a controller who will look at allocation of resources and reviewing of controls, financial reporting as we studied, preparing your accounts in accordance with the local GAAP, and FP&A. The job is to study business drivers. What really drives the business? Is it demand from port operations? Is it consumer demand, youth? Analyze key financial metrics, track appropriate performance measures. So how do you measure that performance? And then the associated drivers. Coming to chartered accountancy. Now chartered accountancy has got three pillars, as you would be knowing. You've got the CA foundation, which they have now reintroduced in the new course. Earlier they were doing with something called the CPT, Common Proficiency Test, which was a complete MCQ based thing. And they realized that over a period of time, more than 40% people who were taking the CPT exams were clearing. So that typically led to an inverted structure where you had a large number of students who have been entering the CA profession, but as a funnel goes towards the end, towards CA final, it becomes difficult for them to sail through, because the institute has a clear mandate that if there are more number of chartered accountants who are entering the job market as compared to the demand, they will become jobless, right? So they kind of put the funnel at the end. So intermediate and final, that's the standard thing, that it almost takes 4 to 5 years for you if you start clearing CA in the first attempt, all the three levels. One of the biggest ironies, or what should I say, it's a paradox about the CA profession, is that you can become a chartered accountant and start your career with a CA firm at an entry salary of 2,40,000 per annum, that's 20,000 rupees per month, and then the same CA fresher with that same qualification who's cleared all those three levels of foundation, inter and final could start with an HUL or ITC at 24 lakhs per annum. And then if you want to get an international placement, you can go up to 70 lakhs per annum at an ULAM. So there are clear differentiators which this market is looking at in the job market. So while all of them will have the same chartered accountancy degree, but then the market differentiates you basis your number of attempts, the number of attempts that you have taken in your CA, inter and final, your communication skills. So that's one weak point for a lot of people, especially the ones, let's say, who have not done their schooling from a missionary school or an English medium school. So you might have studied in a Bengali medium school in Purulia. So now in the professional world, that kind of acts as a limitation for you. So that's one thing. And what is the average salary of a CFO? Because a lot of chartered accountants eventually become CFOs. It's 4,31,000 crores was the average CFO salary for the Nifty 50 companies. And if you exclude the PSUs, because PSUs pay really very less, the average of a PSU CFO, so you could be a CFO of an Indian Oil or a Gas Authority of India Limited, but your salary is just 56 lakhs. So, and on average, a CFO of the top Indian companies has earned 5 crores 4 lakh rupees in the last year, 2017-18. So P Balaji getting almost 20 crores, L&T CFO 17 crores, a lot of money, right? But then that starts with the CA course or the MBA course. Now if you look at the CA course, what is the pros? Now one of the best parts about the CA curriculum is that it's the highest return on invested capital course in the entire world. The official fee of the CA Institute over the three levels is just 49,000, and you get that kind of salary in your just 1 month of employment. So within 1 month you get a payback of the entire money that you spent. Yes, I am not considering the cost of your tuition fees, etc., which you might want to go for commercial coaching. along with this, CA, one of the advantages is that you get to do a 3-year articleship. So if it is at a reputed firm, you get a phenomenal stipend, 10,000 per month. So for the next 3 years, you've already earned 3,60,000 rupees before you've graduated as a chartered accountant. So it's one of the highest ROI courses in the country. So people from not so great economic backgrounds, this becomes the default choice, because when you think of MBA, what is one of the biggest roadblocks that comes in your mind? Arey yaar 20 lakh rupees kahan se lenge, right? And in CA you are like, okay, 5,000, 10,000 to main start karta hu, and over a period of 5 years I have to pay this 49,000. Fine, I'll do that, and I'll get that money back in my 1 month. So that's the quantitative cost. But the qualitative cost of that particular thing is that it's a very high risk zone that you are entering into, because as we talked about the inverted structure, one of the dilemmas of the CA curriculum is that they give a lot of students entry into the profession, but eventually they get filtered out at the inter stage, and then at the final stage that even further filtration happens. So if you look at their pass group percentage, the standard deviation by mean of the CA final, both group percentage, is actually more than that of Bombay Stock Exchange. So it's a very, very volatile kind of a thing. So in one term you will have a large number of people who are becoming chartered accountants, next term you might find a very difficult result. So you have to live with that kind of risk reward ratio. So your cost is very less in terms of quantitative things, but on a qualitative thing you will find a large number of students who've taken 5 attempts, 7 attempts at CA final and not been able to clear. And once you reach that zone, you become a CA intern who has completed 3 years of articleship. So you are technically called a semi-qualified chartered accountant, and the market value of a semi-qualified chartered accountant will not be in any case more than 40,000 per month, even 3-4 years down the line. So that becomes one of the things. So the number of attempts in CA final is a very crucial determinant of your success at the entry level. In the long run, yes, it doesn't matter at all. So you will find a lot of CFOs who might have cleared their CA 15 years ago at 5 attempts, but at the entry level, that 2,40,000 vis-a-vis a 24 lakh, that 10x gap, a lot of that is also determined by this number of attempts, your firm of articleship. So if you get your articleship in a not so famous firm, okay, so it can be a Ghansham, Goyal and company. So then that brand is something that will really matter in the initial placements. Your comm skills will be a big determinant of your success, and then with a chartered accountancy degree, it is very, very difficult to get into these niche fields such as management consulting, investment banking, private equity. For them, clear cut, it's MBA finance. Company secretary as a course is a relatively more stable course. You've got more stable pass percentages, and there are almost 54,000 company secretaries in India. In terms of chartered accountants, there are around 2,80,000 so, and company secretaries are 54,000, and with the new Companies Act 2013 and the host of compliance, either in job or as a practicing company secretary, there is a lot of opportunities that have emerged in the area of compliance. Every day you would have seen that recently they have done a KYC for all the directors. Now they are looking at a geospatial mapping of the registered office of all the companies, so that they will understand that in that one building of Mercantile building in Lal Bazaar, in that 50 square foot area, there are 150 companies that have their registered office, which are typically called shell companies, Jama Kharchi companies, that you would have heard that word. So the average salary for a CA fresher will vary somewhere around 2.5 to 3 lakhs in the Calcutta market, goes high up to 5 to 8 lakhs in the Bangalore and the Bombay markets. The average salary for a CFO or for a company secretary would be 57 lakh 30,000. Of the BSE 500 companies, the top lodge could be like a Dev Vajpayee of an HUL at 4.69 crores, a Reliance CS at 3 crores. So basically CS in itself has become a good career choice, not as lucrative as a chartered accountant or an MBA in finance, but that's for a choice. Now coming to MBA. Now MBA by far is the most secure career choice in India, and there are reasons why I am saying this statement. In MBA, you've got an entrance which is very difficult, right? To get a call from an IIM Calcutta, you need to crack the CAT with 99.5 percentile. But So that's like 2 lakh people and you need to be in the top 1000 of that lot. But then once you crack that CAT and are able to go through the interview process, you will find that you will surely become a MBA at the end of 2 years. That does not hold good for a CA, so you will get an entry, but then हो सकता है कि उस दलदल में फंस के ही एक semi qualified chartered accountant बन के रह जाए. In MBA that certainty is there that okay, it's difficult to enter, but then once I enter, I am sure that I will become an MBA, and then it's like a prepaid SIM card. So once you've paid that 20 lakh odd fees, you go out there, and what are the advantages? So when I was in IIM Ahmedabad, one of the first things that happened to B school is that humbling experience. So each of those guys who enter a B school have got big noses in the air kind of a thing. I was like, I'm a ranker chartered accountant, have worked with a Deloitte, ITC and all. But then once I entered my B school, I had this guy who's an IITian, this guy who had worked in US for 10 years in this MNC, this guy who was from NIT Jaipur and an amazing guy. He was from Delhi School of Economics, and I was like, oh. And trust me, in an MBA, the paradox is that in their accountancy exams, eventually chartered accountants score well, but at the end of the semester, the accounts exam is topped by an engineer, not by a chartered accountant. So it's a great learning platform in that way. Plus the second advantage that happens to you is that in terms of learning, your mind gets exposed to very, very different things. So you could be even looking at the manner in which you should place the tables and chairs in a restaurant so that your customers' waiting time is optimized on a Sunday evening at a barbecue, because if customers have to wait for long, they will get frustrated. If they don't wait, they will feel that, oh, no one comes here. So all that kind of quantitative operations research, marketing, HR, supply chain, these kind of things are taught. And the best thing about MBA is the networking effect. So while I was on campus, I met this guy who had this attitude about himself that I was working in a Procter & Gamble at some Bhopal territory. And I asked him, do you know this lady? He said, yes, she's India sales head. I said, she's on my Facebook list. And then I told, do you know Atul Bhargav? Like, yes, he's our Asia Pacific head. I'm like, he's also on my Facebook. And he was like, huh? So suddenly people start taking you very seriously because you are from an IIM or from an SPGen or an MDI. Right? So if you look at the typical salaries, the maximum salary this year at IIM Ahmedabad in terms of the maximum earning potential has been 72 lakhs, and internationally it has been $1 lakh. Now that exactly does not mean, one of the myths is $1 lakh salary means 70 lakhs per annum. Is that true? No. Why? The placement report also talks about that. There is something called purchasing power parity. So if you work in New York, your housing, your taxes, your cost of living there will be very, very different from that in India. So in India, a McDonald's burger will cost you 30 cents, but in US it is going to cost you $5. So there is something called PPP. So don't just multiply this headline dollar salaries by the conversion rate and gets, oh, 1.5 crores ka salary. The other myth about MBA is that if I don't get an MBA from an IIM, there is no point doing an MBA. A lot of you believe that, or you've been made to believe that, but that's not true, because IIM ABC, LIK, and then the new IIMs, XLRI, SPGen, MDI Gurgaon, IMT Ghaziabad, Symbiosis, Narsi Munji, there are a host of such 70 odd colleges. And you know what? There is a college in Delhi called FMS where the cost of an MBA is just 30,000 rupees and the average placement 20 lakhs per annum. It's very difficult to get into FMS. Similarly, you got the MBA departments of the IITs, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, IIT Madras and Kanpur. They offer MBAs at a cost of 4.5 lakhs, but the return on investment capital is quite substantial. So that's one of the myths people have, that if I am going for an MBA, I need to only do it from the IIMs. That's not true, because an MBA degree is for most people a foot in the door. You need to get into an organization and especially let's say you enter into the world of marketing and sales, then your numbers are going to talk, not your academic qualifications. So I know people from ICFI Kolkata who are now country heads in sales in various banking and financial services things, because once they hit the market, they knew how to entice the customer, how to sell the value across. So that's the second myth, that don't just think that MBA means from the IIMs or from the top 10. even if you do it from an ICFI Hyderabad, it's okay. It's a good foot in the door, and then it's up to you. And the average salary of a not so great MBA college is also 7-8 lakhs per annum, which is also the same for a CA. So you are here, you're taking a lot of return risk, and here it's a sure shot kind of a thing. Another thing that you could do is, once after class 12, you can start with CA Inter. So you start with the CA, clear your foundation and then your Inter, then appear for CAT. If you go through, then you become an MBA and also complete your CA final. If you are not able to crack that entire MBA entrance process, come back and complete your CA. So that's one safe option, CA Inter plus MBA. It's one of the prized combinations. And nowadays one of the even hotter combinations is CA plus MBA, which by far is the best qualification in the world of finance in India today, and that has been endorsed by multiple people to whom I have spoken. So this time in IIM Ahmedabad, there are more than 30 chartered accountants who are going for the 2-year full-time MBA. So that means people see value that a chartered accountant has got hands-on experience on financial statements. He's actually done the preparation of financial statements, the analysis, and MBA is more in terms of the breadth is there, but the depth is not there. But an MBA plus a CA is like depth plus the marketing exposure. Awesome. And then there are new variants. So you will say that, sir, I need to earn a bit for my family before I actually start an MBA. You can actually get an admit in an MBA. So you take the CAT, go through the interview process, and then tell the institute that, look, I want to work for 2 years, 3 years, and then I want to come back and do my MBA. So they will give you a deferment of your admission. That's possible, right? And there are, so 2-year MBA and a 1-year MBA. So the 1-year MBA is still in more in an emerging state in India. So in Europe, it's clear-cut 1-year MBA. In the US, Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, it's the 2-year thing. So 2-year is more about the entry level where you have got less than 3 years of experience. The 1-year MBA is for people with substantive work ex, like 7-8 years in industry. You've seen it, been a part of top level meetings, but then you are just a functional expert. To become a CEO of a company, you want to understand marketing, finance, supply chain, everything. So for them, the 1-year MBA at schools like IIMs and then ISB Hyderabad, or you could go abroad and do that. And then one of the myths which people have, that the MBA fees is very high. I'll have to pledge my house for that. I don't have that money, sorry, I cannot do it. But then even in institutes like IMT Ghaziabad or an MDI Gurgaon, if the institute is good, you get a complete bank loan at 8.5% from the bank. So you will not get it for a Salt Lake kind of an institute where there are no credentials, but for the top-notch colleges, you get a complete 100% collateral free loan. So that is also one of the things that you should consider, because a lot of people on my YouTube channel, they say, sir, you are talking about MBA, but then I don't have the money. Where will I pledge my house? No, you don't need to pledge a house for becoming an MBA. Now coming to the 4 international degrees, you got CIMA, which is Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, where you got the enterprise level performance pillar and the financial pillar. It's a globally recognized thing. The pass rates here are relatively much, they are much more, what should I say, generous in terms of their pass percentage. Almost 50% people who take CIMA exams clear the CIMA exams. And it's a globally recognized thing with the 3 levels technically, and the average salary in India for a CIMA would be 8.2 lakhs, 10 odd lakhs, etc. This is as per their website. Now international CFA has becoming a big buzzword in the market today. A lot of people feel that if you do an investment banking, you want to get into a world of investment banking or equity research, just go for an CFA. CFA in India, the challenge is that it's a good add-on degree as a standalone degree. So if you are just a BCom plus CFA, unfortunately there are not many takers. So you don't have a red carpet laid out for you if you've just done the CFA in India. It's a good add-on, very good course for the knowledge perspective. But then even if you clear L3, you can get job only in an a KPO of some American Express. So you can actually go to the career website of CFA Society, you will find there are just 4 jobs listed in the entire country of India. But in the US, Singapore, UK, CFA is the gold standard when it comes to the world of finance. So you have to decide which is the territory in which you want to operate post your education. So you get a lot of tools, investment tools, asset valuation, PM and all in the CFA thing, and people work as portfolio managers, risk managers, research analysts, etc. Coming to CPA, Now CPA is again a gold standard in terms of the US equivalent of the Indian CA. There are almost 7 lakh CPAs in the world, and just 4 subjects. One of the best advantages of CPA is that it's just accountancy, auditing, regulations and BEC, business environment, and you are a CPA out there in the US markets for a great career. But one thing that you need to, if you are eyeing the CPA, is that just an undergraduate degree will not be enough for you to apply for the CPA. You need a postgraduate degree in India. So if you are trying to go, because that's the eligibility criteria, it varies from state to state. So in the US it's United States, right? So different states have got their different thresholds, but that's something that you need to understand, and you will have a lot of such people. In the CFA, look at the pass percentages. More than CPA pass percentage is also 50%. In the CFA also it is 50%. And then one of the other international courses that is gaining currency in India is ACCA, which is the UK equivalent of the Indian CA. So you have again this entire thing. Pass percentage, any course with a pass percentage of 50% or so in an overpopulated country like India becomes quite a thing. So the HR, so I am also associated with this job portal for chartered accountants. So they are like, oh, an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, 2 lakh people, just 400 people have made it. So there's this snob effect, right? Why do you people wear diamonds? Because it's the snob effect. With a course that has 50% pass percentage, the HR doesn't feel that it's worth recruiting this guy. I mean, that's a mindset issue probably, but then in a CA they say, okay, a CA first attempt means just 15 or 18% of the entire cohort will be a first attempt chartered accountant. So it's just an entry barrier. In all the international courses, that's one of the biggest challenges, that the perception is that these are very easy to crack courses with almost 50% pass percentage, the rich guys, you know. So the cost of a CFA, one level is $950, 3 levels, so it's like $2850 plus the registration. So overall, if you look at it, it's a difficult bet, but yes, good add-ons. Primary degree in India will continue to remain CA and MBA, and of course if you have a passion for the stock markets, you should look at some sort of a formal training in the technicals and the fundamentals. And one thing which I wanted to add on was technicals. You might not necessarily want to become a trader like a Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, but then what the crowd is thinking about a stock through the charts, you can use it as a measure to validate your prognosis of a particular stock. So technical analysis, fundamental analysis is something which you should always work upon. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my views. Thank you, Vivek ji. Bye bye. Thank you.